Hello, my name is Diego Pinto, and over here I have with me Asta, and today we will be presenting to you Netflix. Netflix was originally founded in '97 by two people, Red Hastings and Mark Randolph. One of them was a software engineer, and the other one was an entrepreneur. In '99, the company was officially founded with unlimited subscription to rental services to be mailed to home. The company did have a spike in 2005, where it received 4.2 million subscribers. In '07, the company then introduced online streaming, and in '08, it partnered with other companies to allow for streaming on other devices such as that of 360, Blu-ray players, and TV set-tops.
Netflix issued its API, launched it on October 1st, 2008, and they made the whole catalog available, which included all the movies and the titles and stuff like that. However, it stopped issuing public keys on March 8th, 2013, and which means that the company no longer offered a test environment for developers, and its developer portal was already set to read-only. Also, on April 8th, 2013, Netflix retired its OData catalog, which is a catalog that was originally designed by Microsoft to standardize the way in which basic data access operations can be made available via REST API. And it's built on top of the Atom protocol, and it extends it by adding metadata to describe the data source and a standard means of querying the underlying data. But why did this shift occur? Why did Netflix, move towards stopping their API? It occurred because they wanted to focus more on supporting Netflix on all devices, and they wanted to stop spending time and energy on creating this Netflix API. And on November 14th, 2014, Netflix completely canceled its API, and all of the apps stuff that were not allowed to use the API started returning with 404 errors.
Alright, so to show some Netflix API examples here, we have the first one, which is a HTTP GET request for the URL for a specific source. So the specific one we have here will return to you all the catalog titles, which is the first one. And with that, it will bring you directly specific titles, more, and more specific ones. And if you were to click on them, it will become a reference source itself, much like a link href. So then if you want to use that specific one, you could extract a URL resource from the movie that you could use within the GET method. So here we could see API public, Netflix catalog titles, movies, and a whole bunch of numbers. Those specific set of numbers will return to you all the information that you need, or do you want to find out about a specific movie. If a client does not support the HTTP verbs, it will not function correctly. Those verbs are the get, put, delete, and post. All responses are in XML language, or extensive markup language. Now, this API came in with a whole bunch of built-in error handlers, to which I will only discuss three, which is status code, subcode, and the message, which is the most important ones of that there are. There are a few others, of course, and you could read on of those later. In here we have two examples of this. The first one, which is a failure return, which gives you a status code, a subcode, and a message. And the other one is a successful return, which will give you a link ref to the specific movie that you want to see, and a status code in which you could look up on Netflix website. Now here we see some of the architecture for the API, and due to the generic and gradual nature of the original REST API, Netflix had to change it. Here we could see how only a portion of functionality for a given user experience required client applications to make multiple calls that need to be assembled in order to render a single user response. This interaction model is illustrated in the following diagram. And then after the entire architecture update, we could see all 9 calls were collapsed into a single one, which made it more efficient and created server-side parallelism to at least some level, as it previously achieved through multiple network requests from the client. And here we have a very specific architecture example of the entire API, which uses Polyglot, which means that it will run any JVM language at the exact same time. This was entirely developed by Netflix and used some help over with the Java API. This also concludes dynamic real-time execution, and all languages are supported at the same time.
What were the implications of Netflix shutting down its public API? Well, there were two main behaviors that Netflix wanted to prevent by doing this. First was that it was hoping to stop developers from reselling their technology and information from the Netflix API to third parties. And the other reason was that Netflix wanted to prevent developers from scraping its metadata and using it to advertise competing services. However, by doing this, all the independent developers felt cheated because they had created all these apps and applications and websites using the Netflix API to help Netflix customers. However, they felt as if the rug was taken out from under their feet because their apps no longer worked because Netflix had shut down its public API. Also, another issue that happened was that consumers who use third-party apps to add titles to their DVD queue could not do that anymore because all of those third-party apps needed the public API of Netflix. So that was another issue that Netflix had to face. In general, there are implications. All of these websites, ESPN, Etna, and Netflix, have recently shut down their public API. And by doing this, many people feel that these companies are moving away from branding and innovation and experimentation more onto focusing towards profit and monetization and better control mode. However, Netflix did let the following websites transition to a non-public API, and these websites are Instant Watcher, Fan TV, Yidio, NextGuide, Flixster, Can I Stream It, Feedflix, and Instant Watch browser for Netflix. So I'm going to quickly go through instantwatcher.com. Instant Watcher is a website that helps Netflix users who want to transverse and explore the Netflix catalog of the streaming titles more efficiently and painlessly. All the information and cross-links on this website are limited to watch instantly titles, so you don't have to waste time shifting through all the DVD titles. Also, Instant Watcher has an ability which it brings up instant knowledge of what's trending, so what's been trending in the last 24 hours. Also, you can directly launch, if you're logged into Netflix, you can directly launch from this website. And you can also play or queue titles directly from the website. So this website uses the Netflix API to build its own separate database, and that's what it uses. Another website, which is not technically supported by Netflix, however, they built their own database to make it function, is netflixroulette.com. This is an interesting website because it's basically a roulette, which there's different criteria that you fill out, and it would suggest you from a list of random movies what movie or TV show you should watch. However, people can use the Netflix Roulette database, which is public, to build their own apps from that. So Netflix Roulette has opened up its database to everyone, and it has its own public API. And an example is you could query it by doing, as shown on the screen, you could do Attack on Titan, and it would return with all this information about the show, which is on the Netflix database. However, you're actually accessing the Netflix Roulette database. You can also specify that you would like it to be XML format by putting in type is equal to XML. And here's an example of House of Cards, and it returns with all the information to do with this specific TV show. Also, the people who created the database, Netflix Roulette database, have created different wrappers that can be used. There's a Python wrapper, and here are examples of how you would code using Python to get access to the information in this API. There's a Java wrapper, there's a C++ or C# wrapper, CMake, Ruby, and those are all the wrappers that are available. Also, an example is RedditBot, which was built using the Netflix Roulette database. And this is an account on Reddit, which you can query using the examples that are on screen, and it would return with all the information that you requested for that specific movie title or TV show. And that is all we have for Netflix APIs.
Thank you.
Thank you.